Hello, ladies. I am coming to you today from my car, and I am in just parked somewhere in an open lot, and I just have to do what I can when I can. So this is what I was able to do today, but I think it's fitting because what I'm talking about in this video is this is the final video in the series that I've been teaching on this month, which is Birthing Miracles. And so this one is actually Birthing a Miracle. We've gone through all the other ones. And again, as I shared yesterday, if you haven't had a chance to see those, I encourage you to go look at those other videos. And there might be some useful information in there for you to help you understanding the process of birthing things in the spirit. And so a lot of correlations between birthing things in the natural, birthing a child in the natural, and how we can apply that in the spirit. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. I don't know if anyone is going to be able to join in and watch live, but that's okay. It'll be here for others to watch later. So again, bear with me. My notes are all over the place. So I'm going to try to do this as smoothly as possible, but I've got a lot of different notes, different pages here, and I'm going to try to put it together for you. So I wanted to get this done before the month was out, as that is our theme, and I had told you that I would share all this information with you. So we are now at the very final stage. So we talked about preparing for a miracle, conceiving a miracle, carrying a miracle. I just did that one yesterday. I did a video on the practical application of what it means to what is a miracle and how do I birth one, as far as talking about, you know, what does that look like. And then today we're talking about birthing a miracle. So this is the final stage of bringing forth a miracle. And it is the most painful. The birthing experience, the labor, the contractions, all of that is the most painful. But it's not the longest. Yesterday we talked about carrying a miracle, the pregnancy portion, and that is actually the longest. This one is not the longest, but it is the most painful. And so I want to talk about some different things in the natural and compare that to the spiritual. And hopefully some of these things will help you and encourage you and give you some understanding as far as applying it to whatever you are trying to birth in the spirit, whatever situation you're going through. So the place. First, I want to talk about the place. I'm in a car right now. I'm in my car, parked in some empty lot. And, you know, as it's been mentioned before by a few ladies, our vehicle can be what we call a prayer room on wheels, or a portable prayer closet, different names for it. I have gone out in my vehicle many times when I didn't have anywhere else to go, when I didn't have a place to go. You know, if it's in the middle of the night and your family's sleeping, and you don't have somewhere that you can go, just cry out to God. A vehicle is a great thing. So thank God for our vehicles. You know, that we have that and we can drive somewhere. In LA, it was even hard. When we lived in LA, I would go out and sometimes I would just drive around because there was not even like a safe place just to go and park. Not a safe parking lot or, you know, at a park or whatever. It's just kind of not the safest place. And there were times that I did and I found some little places to go, but there's people everywhere. There's houses, there's buildings everywhere. And there's people out like all times of the night and day. So it's really hard to get away, but I would just sometimes just go driving around in my car and I would be travailing and just crying out to God, you know, whatever it was. So our vehicle is a place, you know, the place isn't that significant, actually. It doesn't really matter so much the place that you give birth. So many people give birth in their vehicles, talking about in the natural. You know, I know someone personally that had their delivered their child on the way to the hospital. I believe they lived quite a ways from the hospital at that time. And on the way driving, I think like 70 miles an hour on the freeway or something, she delivered that baby in the car. Not the safest thing to do, probably. I was a little concerned with my fourth child. I was like, oh Lord, please let me make it to the hospital, because I did not want to go through that. I did not want to have to deliver that baby in the car by myself while my husband was driving. I just didn't feel like I was ready for that. And, but I was not there at the hospital for very long before I gave birth to my fourth child. And so people give birth in their vehicles. People give birth in hospitals. That's probably the most common place. People give birth in their home, and they have what is called home births. And they give birth in birthing centers, different places. Now, if we're talking about spiritually, you know, it's just through our prayer that we birth things in the spirit, through prayer and fasting. And I talked about that in one of the other videos. But you know, the church is a place. So the environment, the place is not that important. However, you know, it's more comfortable, obviously, if we are in, you know, a room with a bed. But look at Jesus. He came in a barn, in a stable is where he was born. And that wasn't the most convenient place. It wasn't the most comfortable place. They didn't have all the amenities. They didn't have, you know, just hot water and the rags and things like that. I mean, you know, and childbirth is a messy thing. So, there they were, you know, and the church is kind of related to a hospital. Sometimes we refer to the church as a hospital. For me, with my first two children, I had them in a birthing center, and it was because I didn't want to go to the hospital. It was a little different, and it's not for everyone, but that's what I wanted. And it was a nice, small, very small birthing center. I think they had maybe like 4 birth rooms, and it just looks like a bedroom. It has a normal bed in there, not a hospital bed. And you know, there's a bathroom with a bathtub, and it's just very comfortable and homey. And I wasn't quite comfortable enough to do it in my home, but felt very comfortable there at the birth center, and it felt almost like home. And so that was the place that I chose, and I didn't want anybody else there. I only wanted my husband there with me, and the midwife, of course, and the nurse. There was a nurse there assisting as well part of the time, but for the most of the time, it was just me and my husband. And that's how I wanted it. But other people are comfortable having the whole family in the room, you know, and having everybody close by. I'm just the type of person that just is more private. And, you know, again, I didn't even want my mom there. I just wanted my husband, and that was it. And I'm the same way in the spirit. I like to find, in order to really travail and to intercede, I like to have a place away from people, so I can just, you know, let out my voice. And I feel like in the church environment. But the thing about babies is they come whenever they're ready, right? So you can't just choose, oh, well, now's not the time. I mean, Mary and Joseph could not say, well, we'll just wait until there's a room available. No, baby Jesus was coming. And so they had to just, you know, go wherever was available. And so there have been times when I have, and thank you, ladies, who, those of you that are able to join in live, it's good to see you. It's always nice to know that I'm talking to somebody rather than just, just talking out there in open air. But I know people will watch later. so there have been times in, in the church, in a church setting, at the altar or whatever, even during the worship service, anytime during the service when I've been travailing and interceding. But the thing is, sometimes, when you are crying out, you are groaning in the spirit, because there's a sound of a woman in labor. And I know that they tell you that it's better not to scream, to conserve your energy and your breathing, get your breathing right, and, not to scream and not to, do all that stuff. And I didn't scream, but I was groaning. I'm telling you, when I gave birth to my children, I was groaning, and I was making some sounds that, oh no, it's breaking up. Is it bad? Is it like continuous breaking up? Because if it's bad, then, I'll just stop and, record it on my phone and just upload it when I can. It won't be today, but, okay. Just want to make sure, because great. So, I'm not sure. Maybe it's another, just someone else's connection. Okay, good. I will continue going. So I was groaning and making sounds, and in the spirit, when we are birthing something in the spirit, we are groaning. There are sounds that go forth that are the sounds of a woman in labor. And, so when that happens, people tend to come to you. If you're in a church setting or there's others around wherever you are, people will come and, you want to pray with you because they think like, oh, this sister's really going through something. And that's happened with me multiple times, where I'm interceding and I'm travailing, on behalf of the church, on behalf of a specific individual, on behalf of a need. And then I'll have someone, or, maybe a couple of people come and pray with me like, this sister really, needs, a miracle, needs a breakthrough right now. And that's fine. But for me, again, this is just me personally, I do not want, again, in the natural and in the spirit, I'm the same way, in that I want to be, it's just like, leave me alone, let me focus. I need to focus. And that's how I was in labor with my children, is I need to focus on the task at hand. I need to, breathe. I need to focus on everything that's going on in my body right now, and moving this child out through the birth canal is a big process. I didn't have any pain medication, and I'm like, I just need to focus. I need to put all my thought, my energy. If I had other people in there trying to talk to me, or I felt like I had to, converse with them, or like I couldn't be myself, it would just be a lot harder. So for me, I do things better when I'm by myself, when I'm, as far as the laboring or something so personal like that. But everybody's different. So it could be different. And when people do come to pray with me, I'm just like, okay, Lord, take their prayers and help to, put them towards what I'm praying for. And so, I'm reading some of the comments here. Yes. And sometimes we just, and so any place, like I said, in the car, many times is things have been birthed in the spirit, in my car, in my vehicle. And, could be in your closet, could be, in a prayer room. It could be anywhere, any place. The place is not that important. The surroundings, it's, up to you, but like that, me personally, I want to be alone. I want to be, just with the one, the lover of my soul, and the one who put that seed in me, and, who put that desire, who put that burden, who put that thing inside of me, I want him to be there. And this is another thing, and I'm probably going out of order here. I'll wait for that because that's in really the pushing stage. There's several things that I want to share. So when it's time, it's time. It's got to be God's timing. Sometimes we get impatient. I talked a little bit about this yesterday. We get impatient, or sometimes it's for the convenience of the doctor. The one delivering the baby is they say, I'm going to induce you on this day, or do you want to be induced? They ask so many times now, do you want to be induced? You know, we can induce you after this date if you don't go into labor naturally. But the thing, and I read a lot about this because I was really into, and still am very passionate about natural childbirth, and read books on it and researched it and everything. And I did not want to have a C-section. I did not want to have a C-section. I don't think anybody really wants to have a C-section. But a lot of times what people don't realize is that just being induced actually begins a snowball effect. When they are induced before the baby's ready, before it's time, they get induced, and then they give the epidural and they do all these things. And sometimes what happens is it actually slows down labor, and the contractions aren't picking up. They give you more Pitocin. All of these things are like a snowball effect. And what happens is so many C-sections are caused because of induced labor. And why is that? Why do we induce labor? I know sometimes there are medical reasons that they do it, but a lot of times it's for convenience, honestly. Like, I want my baby to be born on this day. Well, wouldn't that be nice? You know, that's sure convenient, but childbirth is not supposed to be convenient. And so then a C-section is needed. There's more pain involved. It's a longer recovery. And so we want to just wait on God's timing. We want it to be in God's timing. Another thing, in most cases, labor begins late at night or early in the morning when everyone else is asleep. And I mentioned this before, but, we travail when everybody else may be asleep, but we are very much awake with those contractions, those labor pains, that groaning in our spirit, that burden for, whatever need or situation or individual it is. We are awakened with painful contractions, and you cannot sleep during contractions. So we must rise up early or late at night or early in the morning to labor and travail. And we're talking about birthing things in the spirit. So, going on to labor, there are different stages of labor. The first stage actually has 3 phases. There's early labor. It's not too bad, you're having some contractions, but it's gradually progressing, and you can keep doing what you're doing. I learned this with my children. With my 4th one, that's why I was afraid. I almost was going to have him in the car, because we lived an hour and a half from the hospital. We lived in Blythe, California, in the middle of nowhere, and did not want to have the baby there at that hospital. And so we had been going out of town for my doctor visits, and but it was an hour and a half. Actually, I'm trying to think now. We drove to Phoenix. So actually it's more than that. It's about an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours away. But I learned it was my 4th child, and so I'm like, we're not going to rush to the hospital. I want to do as much laboring at home as possible. I want to be in my home environment. I want to be comfortable. That's just me. Some people I know right at the onset, they're like, rush to the hospital. I'm like, I know what I'm doing now. This is my 4th baby. I'm just going to take it easy. So I told my husband, I think, I was having some contractions. Actually, that's when we were having church in our home. Sister Amber remembers. We were having church in our living room at that time, small little church. And I played. I was our only musicians. I played and I sang, led the worship. And and I was having some contractions. There were some times I was like, okay, I gotta breathe. This is pretty intense, you know. And I'm trying to think, was it, I have it written down somewhere. Okay, so he was a week early, Jedediah, my last child, my fourth child. He was 1 week early, and so, you know, I was like, okay, he'll come when he's ready. But I was definitely feeling some contractions, continued, you know, we went on with the service. By the end of the service, you know, I'm like, yeah, I'm having some pretty intense contractions, you know, very calm. Told my husband, I think this is it. I think I'm going into labor. But I told him very calmly. Well, he went in the room and took a nap. He went to take a nap because he thought, you know, he had learned too, and it was exhausting for him as well. And so he thought, you know, if this is really it, I guess I better take a nap because it's going to be a long night. It's going to be a long night. So he went and he took a nap, and I'm just kind of doing things, cleaning up, you know, doing some dishes, doing whatever, and got my bag ready. And I'm kind of just, you know, I would stop, hold on to the counter, just kind of breathe, you know, brace myself and breathe through the contractions. I'm like, I got this, done this before. I know what's happening in my body. I'm good. That's early labor. You conserve energy. You try to just breathe and relax. And I'm sorry that it's breaking up. Okay, can you hear me okay? I have a great signal. I don't know why it's cutting out. Is it still cutting out? Can you hear me? Come back. Oh, it's really bad. Okay. Someone else says it's perfect, so, I'll keep going. If I have to redo this video another time, I'll redo it. I apologize. Maybe it's your connection where you are. Okay. Sister Ingrid says it's perfect, so I'm going to keep going. Now I lost my train of thought. So the early stage of labor, you know, you can kind of just keep going about your business, and, you know, you having painful contractions in periodically, but they're not so close together. So, you know, that's why I kind of just was like, I'm okay, you know. And then you know, eventually they started intensifying, and I'm like, okay, we do have a ways to go to the hospital, so I probably should wake my husband up and we should probably get going. And that's how I told him, was like, yeah, I think we should probably get going to the hospital now, you know, just very calmly. And he's like, okay. So since I was so calm, he's like, all right, you know, he doesn't know what's going on in my body. He doesn't know what I'm feeling. I'm just very calm. And then as we started driving on the way there, you know, they got a lot worse, and it's very uncomfortable because you're sitting in the seat, you know, sitting down in the car is not the most comfortable position for when you're having contractions and you're in labor. And so I'm breathing, he's getting nervous. I'm like, hurry up and get there. Anyway, that early labor, and then you go into active labor. The cervix begins to dilate, contractions get more intense. They are serious contractions, what the midwife would say, serious contractions, and they are working hard. They're lasting longer, they're closer together, they're moving that baby, pushing that baby through the birth canal. And then there's the transition phase, and that is between 7 and 10 centimeters. It's the most challenging phase, but it's the shortest. And then, and that's all 3 phases of the first stage of labor. The second stage is pushing. And we're going to talk about that. Let me see if, okay, the bag of waters is another thing. That bag of waters rupturing. And the purpose of that is to protect the baby when it's in the womb. And when it ruptures, the contractions get more intense. They become more frequent. And there is a lot of pressure and squeezing and pain. And sometimes we feel that in the spirit. We feel that rupturing the bag of waters. We feel all of a sudden there's this intense pressure and a squeezing. But this is part of the process, and it must happen. And so we pray, Lord, open the floodgates, rupture this bag of waters. There is a releasing of water. It can be a, like there's this intense built up pressure and then it's released. There's a gush, or it could just be slowly. So during labor, endurance is key. We're talking about birthing things in the spirit. That last part is the most intense. It is the most painful, but we have to stay strong under pressure. We do what needs to be done. We have to focus on the prize, the end result. Okay, and we're talking about the spiritual. Now, in the natural, we're like, I want to see this baby. I want to hold this baby in my arms, right? It helps us to push. It helps us to stay focused. And in the spirit, we want to focus on that end result. What is it that God is doing? What is it that we are trying to birth in the spirit? And we want that to happen. And so we focus on that. And we stay strong under pressure. We endure through the pain, through the pressure. For us, especially as women, acting emotionally comes natural to us, but we must remain calm and graceful under pressure. Pain, under the pressure and the pain, it takes focus, control, and determination to do what needs to be done. We have to focus our energy, put all of our energy to good use. This is what I learned through reading the natural childbirth books and preparing myself ahead of time for that labor, that time of labor. You don't want to have any wasted movements, breathing, talking, anything. You just want to focus all your energy on pushing that baby through the birth canal. Controlled breathing, not this, I don't know, I never did that. I read, and it's actually, you're supposed to have deep, slow breaths and focus, not this, whatever those, crazy that they teach you in some of those classes. Hopefully they don't do that anymore. I don't know. But you must save your energy and your concentration for pushing. You must be focused and fierce. I'm trying to look at my notes here. So something that the Lord has spoken to me about is, for me personally, and I believe it applies to others of you as well that are in this prayer group, intercessors and prayer warriors, that we are to give birth to things in the spirit everywhere we go. That our intercessory prayers are powerful. We want to open the floodgates. We want to rupture that bag of waters. The contractions and labor speed up, as I mentioned, intensify and get stronger when that bag of waters is ruptured. Midwives are there to give direction and help, when to push, when to breathe. They give you advice and tips because they can see from a different perspective of what's going on. The Lord has created me to push. Not everyone can stand the pain. This is what He revealed to me, what He spoke to me. And maybe you can relate. That not everyone can stand the pain or the pressure. Not everyone has the strength to endure, but I'm a fighter. I stay strong under pressure and do what needs to be done. And we do this by focusing on the end result. In the natural, I push people sometimes. I apply pressure, but it's a good thing. The Lord has showed me this, revealed this to me. They don't like it because it makes them uncomfortable. Sometimes my pushing, my nagging makes people uncomfortable. But this is what God designed me to do, is to push and to labor and to birth things in the spirit. And sometimes, and it's very uncomfortable. Labor is very uncomfortable. But he spoke to me that I am the driving force. And I'm sharing this with you because maybe you can relate, and maybe God's speaking something to your spirit right now. I know I'm talking to prayer warriors, and I'm talking to intercessors, and I'm talking about those that are hungry to see powerful moves of God, those that are hungry to see things happen in the Spirit, and those that are wanting to birth things in the Spirit. So I pray that this connects with you, that something resonates with you and stirs you in your spirit and helps you. The Lord spoke to me that I am the driving force, the one who pushes to birth things in the Spirit and take us, my husband, my family, sometimes even, my church. He's revealed it to me in different times, in different ways, but with those around me, not just pertaining to myself, but I am the driving force. I am one who pushes to birth things in the Spirit and take things to the next level, to birth things in the Spirit. I will knock persistently at the floodgates, at the doors, and I will say, I'm not leaving until, oh God, I'm not leaving until I hold this baby in my arms. I'm not leaving until this miracle is birthed. I will not give up. I will stay strong under pressure. I will continue to fight. I will continue to push, no matter how intense the pain, no matter how strong it is. I'm going to continue to fight. And if you feel that in your spirit, I pray that the Lord would help you, would give you strength to endure, to persevere, to continue on as you seek to birth your own miracles in the Spirit. If things are going to be birthed in the Spirit, you've got to go through the laboring process. We have to go through the laboring process. There is pushing, there is pressure, there is pain, but He has equipped us. He has equipped us to go through it and to bear it. Be graceful under pressure. We must stay calm and mature in stressful situations. Acting emotionally is what we want to do. It's our natural response, but it takes focus and control to maintain that grace, to be graceful under pressure. In tough situations, many times people panic because they face an uncomfortable situation. They don't know what to do, how to react, how to respond. But it's a mindset. We must learn to say, hey, I know what to do in this situation. And when you have birthed something before, like I said with my fourth child, with my first one, I did not have a clue what I was doing. I had read books and everything, but until you go through it, you really cannot understand. You really don't know. People would tell me, and I read about it in books, and the midwife would tell me, well, just when you feel to push, when you feel, and I'm like, I don't know what that feels like. I don't know what that urge to push feels like. Like, how am I going to know? How am I going to know? This is my first child, and by the time I came to my fourth child, I knew what I was doing. I was calm. I was focused. I'm like, okay, I already know. I already been through this. And the more that you birth things in the Spirit, the more that you will understand this process and be comfortable with it. I'm trying to get through my notes here. And there's something that I'm going to share with you, but I'm going to wait until that part. Okay, there's a position. There is a position for birthing. And when we're talking about, there's different positions in the natural that you can get in that will help, that gravity will work with you. And, that will help you, that will help the baby naturally just move through that birth canal, and to alleviate some of the discomfort and make things a little bit easier. They have all kinds of different things, birthing stools. They have bars that you can hold on to, like lean over. And I think it was a slightly different with each one of my children. But, luckily thankfully, I had people, midwives and nurses that were there to help me and help get me comfortable as possible to birth that baby. And just like a midwife, God is with us every step of the way, coaching us and helping us. He's not going to leave us. He speaks gently and calmly to us. And so there is a position, but in the Spirit, when we're talking about in the Spirit, the position for birthing is humility and praise and worship on our knees. That is the position. This sun is really getting me here. That is the position for birthing in the Spirit. Childbirth is a very humbling experience. Everything is exposed. Our most vulnerable private parts are on display for all to see. There's no shame. In that moment, you're not thinking about all of that. You're just like, okay, you know what? It's all about bringing forth new life. It's all about that baby being born. And in the spirit, you get to a place where you just do not care. You do not care who's around. Oh, man, I feel the Holy Ghost. You do not care who's around. You don't care how goofy you look. You don't care how loud you are. You don't care. You just lift up your voice. It's those groanings that cannot be uttered. Romans 8:26 says the Spirit makes intercession with groanings which cannot be uttered. And there is a sound of a woman in labor that goes forth. And we just lift up our voice. We don't care who's around. We don't care where we're at. We don't care what's exposed, our most vulnerable parts. We don't care how we look. We don't care if our hair's fixed. We don't care about any of that. It's all about the purpose of bringing forth new life. And it's the same in the spirit. The same in the spirit. All the excitement has faded. We are just in pain. We're focused on the task at hand. Childbirth is messy. Deliverance is messy. It's not for the weak. Let me tell you, it's not for the weak. I've seen videos or heard stories of the husbands, fainting and passing out and everything. They couldn't be there. They couldn't see what was going on. I'm thankful for my husband. Man, I'm telling you, he was a rock. He didn't know what was going on. He never experienced anything like that before, but he was my support. So I had the midwives to coach me. My husband did not know what to say to me. He didn't have to say a word. I told him, babe, it's okay. Just the midwife is here. She's coaching me. You don't need to say anything. Just be here for me. And with each of my children, he actually was behind me. And the midwife helped us figure this out, how to plug him in and make him useful. And this is why he was worn out, because I was pushing back against him so hard. He was behind me. He was my support. And I was leaning back against him. I had his hands. I had a hold of his hands and I was squeezing when I wasn't doing that on purpose. I wasn't trying to make him feel pain, but as I was feeling that intense pain and that pressure and those contractions, I was squeezing his hands so tightly and I was pushing back against him so hard. And he was he was such a comfort to me and a rock, just being there. And God is with us. See, he's our midwife and he's our husband. He's the one that is there, our support, that we can push back against him. We can lean against him. We can squeeze. He's there holding our hands the whole time and we can squeeze. My husband bore the weight of my pushing. Again, he didn't have to say anything, but just his presence there calmed me. He was calm. And no matter what, he wasn't passing out. Thank God. My husband was not passing out. He was just there. Just him being there for me to push back against was so important to me. And I'm sorry, I get really passionate about this. I'm very passionate about childbirth, but also relating it to things in the spirit because there's so much correlation, so many things. So the pushing, let me see if we're at that stage yet. I want to make sure I got everything here. Let me see. I think so. We want to remove distractions. We want to be focused, right? I talked about the groaning. Okay, all of these things. And then there is, sorry, I've got all these different little pieces of notes everywhere. Then there is the crowning stage, okay? The crowning is when, so during the rest of labor, you're pushing this baby through the birth canal. You cannot see anything until it gets to the crowning stage and that baby's head is visible. And I remember the midwife telling me, I can see the baby's head. It's right there. And that is just like, oh, thank you, Jesus. This is going to happen. This baby has moved all the way through the birth canal. And now the head is crowning. The head is right there in the opening and getting ready to come out. And that just encourages us when we see that. We've got to have faith throughout the whole process, right? Through the pregnancy, through the labor. We've got to have faith. We've got to remain strong and know and believe this is happening. But when that baby's head is visible, things really get ready to break loose, okay? And in the spirit, again, there's still going to be intense pain. There's going to be pressure. And then there's this burning sensation that happens. This is what happens in the natural. For all of those who have had epidurals and didn't experience all these fun things, I'm laying it out for you, okay? There's a burning sensation, like an intense, so you've got the pressure, you've got the pain, but now there's this intense burning sensation. And what the midwife coached me through, I'm so glad that so thankful that I had such a good midwife to help me and guide me through. But this is one of the most important things, most important lessons that I have learned spiritually, that God has shown me and taught me through this. Actually, multiple times, he has reminded me of this. Because as I said, we get impatient, right? And especially at that crowning stage. Okay, and what we can do, here's where a lot of us make a mistake, okay? And let me try to help save you some trouble. Because here's where a lot of us make the mistake. We're at that crowning stage, okay? We know that the baby's coming. We know that the baby's there. And we just want to hurry up. Okay, baby's head is there. Push it out. Okay, one last push. And get that baby out. But here is where we can damage ourselves. Here's where we can do damage. And the midwife helped me with this and said, okay, now I know you feel so strongly to push right now, but this next contraction that comes, just breathe through it. I don't want you to push. I don't want you to push. I want you just we're going to do this slow and easy, because if you do it too quickly, you're going to tear. You're going to do more damage. We're going to have to stitch you up. So you give time. There's that intense pressure. The baby's head is pushing, is there ready to come out. And I know this is kind of graphic, right? But again, we're all women. So that baby's head is there, just ready. But we've got to give time for that opening to stretch. We feel the urge to push. Okay, this is where it's hard, because we feel the urge to push. We want to push. But it's important that we don't go too quickly, that we don't push too much, because we're going to do damage. The other thing is, so we've got to, during that crowning stage, and when the baby's head is there, and that last few pushes that we're going to get the baby out, but we want to breathe. We want to go slow and easy so we don't do damage. But another thing about pushing, now this is the most crucial, important part of the whole thing. And something that as I said, I've learned, God has helped me with this. Is that, so with my first child, as I mentioned, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what was happening. It was my first time experience. Even though I had read about it, even though I had done all this research, nothing prepares you for, and I'm like, how am I supposed to know what it feels like, the urge to push? Because you feel this intense pain and pressure that you've never felt before. Okay, when you're birthing something for the first time, this is important right here. Somebody needs to hear this. When you're birthing something for the first time, you're not used to that pain. You're not used to that pressure. You're feeling this intense pain and pressure and this urge to push. You don't really know. You're like, what is this? What's happening right now? And what that is just part of the labor process. But with my firstborn, I didn't know, and my midwife was telling me, well, you're at 8 centimeters. If you want to, if you feel to push, you can push. And she said, try pushing through a contraction and see how it feels, if it relieves some of that pressure and, some of that pain. And I'm like, okay, because I don't know. I'm like, I don't know what this urge to push is supposed to feel like. And I don't want to, so I'm waiting for this magical thing to happen. I'm waiting for this, I don't know, all the stars to align and, now it's time to push. I didn't know. And So she said, try pushing through contraction and see how it feels. And so, you know, I did what she said, and I'm like, you know, yeah, it kind of feels better. It feels like it kind of like I'm going along with what's supposed to be happening. Well, I ended up pushing with my firstborn son for like 3 hours. I'm not kidding you. 3 hours I pushed. Oh, ladies, let me tell you. Oh, it was horrible. It was horrible. Horrible. It just was so long. I was so exhausted. I was depleted. And here's what we need to understand spiritually, is that we need to wait until it's the time to push. If you start pushing too early, you're going to wear yourself out. If it's not time to push and you start pushing, honey, woo, you don't want to do it. Let me tell you from experience, you don't want to do it. I was so swollen afterwards. I didn't even recognize my body parts. I mean, I know again, it's gross, it's graphic, right? It's real. I'm just being real with you and honest. I didn't even recognize. I had a mirror and I was like, what? It's embarrassing, but it was horrible. Like that, because I pushed for 3 hours. 3 hours I pushed because I didn't know the time to push. And so that is what's important in the spirit, is recognizing the time to push. And if you push too early, if you start pushing in the spirit too early, before the right time, you're going to wear yourself out. You're going to hurt yourself. It's going to take a long time to recover. You ain't going to want to have another baby for a long time, honey. It's going to take time to recover. So wait on the Lord, wait on his timing, breathe, relax, rest, release, wait, and let God handle it. Let God handle it. And I've talked about this. Just breathe, pray about it. Stop trying to push. Stop trying to make things happen on your own. Many times we do this. We just, we're ready already for this to happen. We're ready for it to happen. And so we say, well, I'm going to push until it happens. I'm going to make it happen. I understand of anybody, more than anybody I probably can say, I understand, because that's in me. It's in my nature. It's part of who I am to push. The Lord has showed me this. And so that's just in me to push. And so, I feel that urge and I'm like, I just want to push. I just want to make it happen. We want to do things. We want to help God. We want to help God. And sometimes we're not helping. We're making things worse. We're making matters worse. So wait on the Lord. Wait on his timing. Just breathe through the contractions. Sometimes we've just got to breathe. Even though we have that urge to push, we've got to listen to the voice of God that's saying, okay, you know what? Just breathe through this one. Hold your tongue. Zip your mouth. Don't say a word. Let me handle this. Let me handle this. And we've got to learn to be sensitive to the voice of the Lord. We've got to listen and take his advice, because he's working for our good. He's trying to help us, just like that midwife. He's trying to help us. That midwife was there, stretching that opening and saying, okay, I don't want you to tear. I don't want you to tear. So let me just coach you through this. Let me guide you through this. We've got to listen for the voice of God. We've got to be in tune with the Spirit of God. We've got to wait on his timing. Don't push before it's time. You're going to hurt yourself and just make things worse. You're going to mess things up. So I hope this has helped you. I know it was kind of lengthy, but this is the last and most important, I think. The sun has been on my face. The most important stage, birthing things in the spirit. And God bless you, ladies. And I will see you. Goodness, what is today? Today is Thursday. So tomorrow morning for prayer, 6 a.m. I know it's 7 for those of you in Arizona. And we'll see you for prayer. And then I'm also going to be sharing another video tomorrow on waiting on the Lord. So look out for that. The Lord strengthen you, help you to birth things in the Spirit, in Jesus' name.